Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. Let's begin today's daily quiz with question number 1 on your screen. Consider the following statements with regard to Indian economy's core sector. Number 1. The 8 core sectors are coal, crude oil, natural gas, refinery products, fertilizer, steel, cement and electricity. Second, the 8 core sectors industries in decreasing order of their weightage are refinery products, electricity, steel, coal, crude oil, natural gas, cement, and fertilizers. And third, at present, the base year of IIP is 2014-15. Which of the given statements is or are correct? The correct answer to this question will be A. 1 and 2 are absolutely correct. These are the 8 core industries in India and they have been perfectly set in their decreasing order of the weightage. The IIP, that is the Index of Industrial Production, uses the base year of 2011-12. The base year has not been changed from this, so the third statement would be incorrect. The reason why we are discussing this question is because of this news in the Hindu newspaper's front page today. That is, the core sector's output has expanded by 12.7%, which is a good news for India. This says that the 8 core sectors output has seen a growth of 12.7% in June as compared to last June. However, in May, the growth was even higher, that is 18.1%. It says that coal, cement, electricity and refinery products rose by 15% or more, while the others like natural gas, steel and fertilizers also grew but at a slower pace. Crude oil, on the other hand, dropped by 1.7% as compared to the last year. The article also tells you that these 8 core industries contribute close to 40% of the Index of Industrial Production, that is the IIP. The overall core output shrank 4.08% compared with the previous month, that is, if you compare it with May of 2022. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with regards to India's first bullion exchange, the Indian International Bullion Exchange, that is IIBX. Number 1. To become qualified jewelers in order to import gold through the IIBX, they would require a minimum net worth of rupees 25 crore and 90% of the average annual turnover in the last 3 financial years through deals in goods categorized as precious metals. Second, apart from qualified jewelers, non-resident Indians and institutions will also be able to participate on the exchange after registering with the IFSCA, that is International Financial Services Centers Authority. Third, for becoming a trading member at IIBX, a qualified jeweler may establish a branch or a subsidiary in IFSC and apply to the IFSCA. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer to this question would be D. All the 3 given statements here are absolutely correct. If you look at the third statement, please read it very carefully. It is not compulsory for the qualified jeweler to establish a branch here. That is why the word used here is may. So qualified jeweler may establish a branch here. They may also not choose to do so, but if they do that, they would be getting much more preferences in the transactions at the IIBX, including adding on more clients. This is why we are asking this question. It is in the news that Prime Minister Modi has just unveiled India's first global bullion exchange at Gandhinagar Gift City, which is an international financial services hub set up by the Gujarat government, specifically outside the state capital of Gujarat. As you know, India has always been one of the largest consumers of gold around the world, and that is why the government has been trying to make more efforts to bring more transparency into import and export of gold. And that is where this IIBX will be extremely helpful. The Prime Minister laid down the foundation stone of the headquarter building of the IFSCA also, which is India's first and only IFSC, similar to those that have been made in UAE, Singapore and Hong Kong. Yesterday's Indian Express also had a big article on the IIBX. I would recommend all of you to read that as well. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements with regards to the Commonwealth Games. Number 1. The women's international cricket has been made a part of the 2022 Commonwealth Games. Second, the motto for the 2022 Commonwealth Games is Games for Everyone. Third, India's best performance at the Commonwealth Games came in the 2010 edition hosted by India. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here would be D. All the three given statements are correct. As you know, the Commonwealth Games were recently inaugurated, and for the first time, women's cricket has also been made a part of the Commonwealth Games. In fact, India played its first match against Australia in the T20 version in the ongoing Commonwealth Games. The motto for this year's Games is Games for Everyone. It is also true that India's best ever performance when we won over 100 medals and stood at the second place overall was when India itself was the host of the Commonwealth Games in 2010 in Delhi. As you can see, there's a wide coverage of the Commonwealth Games in the newspaper today, specifically with respect to the cricket match played by Indian women cricket team against the Australian women cricket team in the Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games, as you know, are being hosted by Birmingham in the UK. Next, question number 4. Consider the following statements with regards to National Tiger Conservation Authority. Number 1. The NTCA, that is the National Tiger Conservation Authority, is a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Second, it was established in 2005 following the recommendations of the Tiger Task Force. Third, the National Tiger Conservation Authority is set up under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer to this question would be A. First and the second statements are correct. The NTSA is indeed a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and it is in fact under the chairmanship of the Union Minister of Environment, Forest and Climate Change that the NTCA works. So it does not work under chairmanship of the Prime Minister. It is actually working under chairmanship of the Union Environment Minister. And that is why the third statement here is incorrect. The reason why we are asking this question is because of this news in the newspaper today. That is, Assam's Manas Tiger Reserve recently had an annual report released about the population of tigers in that particular area. As per the latest camera trappings that have been done across the tiger reserves by the National Tiger Conservation Authority, it was found out that the Manas Reserve has 2.4 times tigresses for every tiger in that reserve. This is an increase of 8 adults and 4 cubs in 2021. Overall, 52 adult tigers along with 8 cubs were caught on that camera. The assessment said that 29 tigers that were seen earlier as well were repeated this time. However, 23 new tigers were also reported. The gender of 27 tigers could be found out perfectly, 8 of them males while 19 of them females, while for others we were not able to ascertain their gender perfectly. The Manas Tiger Reserve had about 381 camera trap stations set up with support of World Wildlife Fund for Nature and the Wildlife Trust of India. The information collected was analyzed by the experts of the NTCA. Next, question number 5 is a previous year question from 2019. Which of the following is not included in the assets of a commercial bank in India? Advances, deposits, investments, or money at call and short notice? The correct answer to this easy question would be B, deposits. The deposits that we actually do with the bank is actually a liability for the bank. Liability in the sense that the bank has to return it back to the customers who have actually made the deposits. So while others are considered as a list of asset of the banks, deposits, that is the money that you deposit with the bank in various forms, is a liability for the bank. This can be easily seen from any of the balance sheets of the bank that you might come across. This is how the banks usually work. Next, we have a fact of the day, and today we will be discussing about the MiG-21 Bison aircraft of the Indian Air Force. There was an unfortunate news yesterday that a MiG-21 Bison aircraft of the Indian Air Force crashed in Rajasthan's Barmer, killing 2 young pilots of the Indian Air Force. This is unfortunately not the first incident of this kind of an accident happening, and this brings back the focus on the safety of the MiG-21 aircrafts that have been used for many years in the Indian Air Force. In fact, such has been the frequency of these accidents that the MiG-21s are also known as the flying coffins, meaning that there have been a lot of accidents where very young pilots of the Indian Air Force have lost their lives. There have been 6 such crashes in the last 20 months itself, 5 in 2021, while 1 in 2022. While the IAF is still investigating the exact cause of what may have happened, we have been seeing from the government side that the government has reiterated its commitment of phasing out this aircraft by 2025. The IAF is looking to revive their squadrons and replenishing with Tejas, which is an indigenous light combat aircraft. As you would know, the MiG 21 Bison is actually an upgraded version of the Soviet era MiG 21s. They were first introduced in 1976. This older version has been revived many times, and the latest version is called the MiG 21 Bison. In fact, if you remember, Wing Commander Abhinandan was actually flying a MiG 21 Bison only when it was shot down by an F 16 of the Pakistan Air Force, and he was caught by Pakistan and was later received. It was on the Bison version that the women fighter pilots also were inducted in the Indian Air Force. However, the history of the crashes of the MiG 21 and the various versions go a long way back. As you would remember, it was also highlighted in the famous movie Rang De Basanti, which was partially based on a true incident. That is, in September 2001, there was a crash of the MiG 21 where the pilot was killed, and the blame was actually put on the pilot, that was a Flight Lieutenant Abhijit Gadgil. His mother, Kavita Gadgil, had then taken up the matter, raised the issue of the technical defects, and was actually then harassed by many officials. Later on, the officials were forced to apologize to the lady and accept the fact that her son was not at fault. This was actually highlighted, as I said, in the Bollywood movie Rang De Basanti as well. This is it for today's daily quiz video. Thank you so much for watching.